Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei was prophet instead of dragon and harem with Raphael Archangel? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Skylinemaster for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. Let's start this video. Issei Hayato was the happiest boy in the world at this moment. He was just asked out by a pretty girl that he never met before out on a date. This is the first step to seeing a woman's breasts in person. Now he just needs to wait until Saturday. Issei was considered a major pervert in his school, Ko Academy, a school that is mostly female. His favorite pastimes include peeping on girls changing with his two friends, Matsuda and Motohoma. One of his other pastimes is writing manga. The manga he writes and draws for is something that he created himself, under a pseudonym. This manga is rather special in that it has numerous religious undertones, some subtle and others not. You see, Issei was never a particularly creative or artistic person, but one day a few years ago, Issei suddenly had the urge to draw pictures. His mind had no control over his body as he drew pictures of demons, angels, and monsters with remarkable artist talent. Issei had an idea for a religious manga series after discovering his talent. His mind worked in his sleep in the form of dreams, giving him the plot for his new series. It was going to be about two brothers in America who fight monsters and demons in a mission to avenge their mother's death. He thought of a catchy title for his new series, Supernatural. He wrote his series under the pseudonym Miyamoto Ko. The thought process behind this pseudonym was his idolization of the famous swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, and the last name was the name of his town, Ko. Anyway, the Supernatural series was very popular in Japan, and was even turned into an anime that was broadcasted throughout Japan and even licensed in America. Issei managed to sketch his dreams onto paper in extremely vivid images, some of which include breasts. On Sunday will be the first time Issei sees breasts in person, and right now, he is as happy as can be. Rainier smiled as another mission was accomplished. Issei Hayato was dead at her hand. She made Azazel proud. She was about to leave when she left a storm brew overhead. It was sunny a few moments ago. What is happening? She thought in her head as felt the temperature drop. Static electricity danced around in front of her as she noticed a well-dressed, dark-skinned man appear in front of her. Rainier, the man said to her in a deep, dark tone. The man stared at Rainier, and then at the body of Issei Hayato, which has two light spears protruding from it. She felt his enormous power immediately. This was someone she didn't want to trifle with, so she took out her wings and started to fly until her wings were burned off her body. You killed this boy? Don't you know he was a prophet? The man shouted at Rainier, whose face demonstrated her fear. Who are you? She shouted at the man who slowly approached her. You don't remember me? I am Archangel Raphael. The man Archangel Raphael boomed. Rainier wet herself. Standing in front of her was an archangel. She knew that they were the fiercest and strongest beings that heaven had to offer, and at any other time, she would just be standing in awe of them. But now is not one of those times. She is standing still in shock. He was about to kill her, and she knew it. She just killed the speaker of the word of God, a prophet, and she was going to suffer for it. Please forgive me. I was ordered to kill him. I didn't know that he was a prophet, Rainier said, going on the ground and bowing towards the towering archangel. Who gave you the orders? Raphael asked. It was Azazel. He told me to kill the boy, she stuttered out. Raphael frowned. He could tell that she was lying about part of it. Fallen angel Seraph Azazel wouldn't order this boy killed, or anything killed really. He just lusted after women, not kill innocent people. You're lying, Raphael said, kicking Rainier in the stomach. She coughed up blood. She was no match for him, and she knew it. This was an archangel, an angel with 12 wings while she only had 2 measly wings. Please stop. She whimpered out on the verge of death. You are lucky I have such unending love for my siblings. Goodbye, Rainier, Raphael said, destroying Rainier's vessel, an angel with smiting white light. Raphael then turned to the boy Issei Hayato. He is dead, and it cannot be this way. Raphael went over to the boy, whose soul has not yet been reaped by death, although that wouldn't have been a problem anyway. Raphael put his hand on the boy, who got back up off the ground. Raphael resurrected the boy and wiped his memories of the last few minutes. Continue on with your writing, it is the word, Raphael whispered in Issei's ear as he returned back to heaven. Do you want to know the beginning? Castiel muttered out loud as he sat on a red park bench in the middle of a park in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was not Oklahoma, however, but the heaven of a little child who died in a car accident in 1988. Well, I will tell you. God created everything, heaven, earth, leviathans, and angels. The Leviathan were too dangerous, and so God sealed them in purgatory and made angels. Lucifer was once the most beautiful of all the angels, my brothers and sisters. All of them were considered beautiful and powerful. The ones the humans call Satan is actually 4 former angels. There is Asmodeus, Beelzebub, an angel named Leviathan, and Lucifer. All of them were powerful angels. Lucifer was the second archangel, while Asmodeus, Beelzebub and Leviathan were all stronger seraphs than Zachariah. Castiel stopped when he saw a baseball roll towards him. He got up off the park bench and picked up the baseball. He looked at the smiling child in front of him and threw the ball back towards him. Now, as I was saying, the ones the humans refer to as Satan were powerful angels. I was but a newly created angel when it happened, the fall. Lucifer fell with 1/3 of heaven's population, to hell, a separate world created by God. The ones that originally fell with Lucifer and their descendants are called devils, and still populate hell to this day, Castiel said, pausing as he witnessed a group of children run after an ice cream truck. The ones the humans call demons are different. They come from the line of Lilith. Lucifer twisted a human named Lilith into the first demon, and that has been the practice ever since. When a human soul is warped significantly, they turn into a demon, just like Lilith. With this, God punished him by sending him into his cage, the most protected part of hell, for all eternity, Castiel said as he continued observing the game of frisbee in front of him. But that wasn't Lucifer's lasting legacy. His heirs ruled hell in his place. Lucifer had a child with Lilith, who was named Rizavim. In fact, all of them had children. The Asmodeus, Beelzebub, and Leviathan families gradually came to consolidate power in hell, and they came to rule hell with Rizavim Lucifer as the 4 great Satans. After gathering an army, the demon army led by devils attacked heaven and the fallen angel faction, led by the Grigori and Azazel, a former seraph on par with Zachariah. The war took a toll on all of us, Castiel said regretfully. Many of my brethren died. The war eventually stalemated with no clear victor. The demons and retreated back into hell. The fallen angels battled the demons and devils for parts of hell while we retreated back into heaven. The war's toll was massive. My entire garrison was wiped out, save for me and 6 others. Heaven lost Archangel Gabriel in the fighting as he fled in the fighting. Rumor has it that he is living among the pagans, but those remains cannot be confirmed at this time. The fallen angels lost many of their commanders at the Grigori, and are now a shadow of what they were. As for the devil-led demon army, the original Asmodeus, Beelzebub, and Leviathan perished in the fighting, as did numerous devils and countless demons, Castiel said as he remembered those in his garrison who perished. Afterward, God left heaven and Michael was placed in charge. He organized heaven the way it is today, and he is the one who created the power structure that now has fallen. The devils had a civil war to determine who would rule hell after the original Satans died. There was the anti-Satan faction, led by Serzex Gremry, Seraphals Citri, Fablium Glagiolabalas, and Ajuka Astaroth, and many demons who hated the old Satan faction, led by descendants of the old Satans. The anti-Satan faction won the war, and they ruled hell to this day. The devils distanced themselves from demons, who are mostly under the control of Lilith and her chief torturer Alistair. Castiel finished before continuing on another thought. While this was happening, on Earth, the humans were learning. They learned from their pile of dung, which was the Tower of Babel, and they learned to use fire and farm. Eve was banished by Archangel Michael after she created monsters which were a threat to humans. This was God's final order to Michael before leaving, Castiel said as he looked at the little children playing on the playground near him. Ever since then, we've been watching over humans. I've seen humans build many things that would put the Tower of Babel to shame. They've built the pyramids, the Colossus of Rhodes, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Statue of Liberty, and the Empire State Building, Castiel said as he looked up at the blue sky of this person's heaven. So, what does this all mean? I'll admit faith in God is shaken, but not broken. He does have a plan for all of us. What is it? I still do not know. But then again, neither does anyone else. Why'd you bring us here to Japan again? Sam asked the Archangel as he, Dean, and Gabriel walked the streets of Akihabara. Dean and Sam were working a Wendigo case in Indiana when Gabriel popped into their Impala and teleported them away to Akihabara, a section of Tokyo well known as a commercial shopping center for anime lovers. Sam, when will you ever enjoy the finer things in life? Anyway, we are here to meet Hino Kagutsuchi, Gabriel said as he looked around Akihabara. It was a bustling place with people dressed up in costumes and walking out of stores carrying bags of goods. Who is that? Dean asked. Shinto god of fire, Gabriel said as a maid handed him a flyer for a maid cafe to him. Thank you, Gabriel said in perfect Japanese to the young lady who pointed him to a maid cafe that nearby. Gabriel looked at the two boys, telling them that he can speak in any language as God gave them the ability to do so. Why are we meeting with a Shinto god? Sam asked as they continued following Gabriel, ignoring the looks of the many people who were astonished at foreigners in Akihabara. Most of the people were astonished by Sam's height or Dean's rough look, making Gabriel chuckle. See, it is very hard to kill my brother Lucifer, but I'm sure it can be done. If you two don't want to fulfill your roles, there is another way to kill Lucifer. You see, Hino Kagetsuchi is one of the few gods that my brothers don't absolutely want to destroy, as God liked him personally, as Hino respected humans and protected them. God liked him, so he blessed a weapon for him, just in case if Michael or Raphael get any ideas. Gabriel finished. So you think he'll just give it to you? Sam asked as Gabriel opened the door to the maid cafe. They were greeted by two maids and Dean's eyes widened as a result. Welcome home, masters, they said in unison as Gabriel smiled. A table for 3, please, Gabriel said to the woman who looked astonished at Gabriel's Japanese. So what are we doing here then? Sam questioned. Getting food, can't meet a god on an empty stomach, Gabriel said as they made their way to the table. The maid gave them menus and then left, with Gabriel noting the look that she gave him. Gabriel, we can't read Japanese, Dean said as Gabriel rolled his eyes. Here, Gabriel said, snapping his fingers. The letters on the menu became in English to the Winchester brothers, who could suddenly read it better. I also took the liberty to take the words in your mouth and turn them into Japanese so they can understand. No need to thank me, Gabriel said. Greetings, masters. May I take your order? The maid said to them. We'll all have the omurice and apple ramen, Gabriel said over the bitch face of Sam and wide open mouth of Dean. Come on, I didn't bring you all the way to Japan just so you can have burgers and Bud Light, Gabriel said to the two brothers. Here are your orders, masters, the maid said as their food and drinks were placed on the table. That's fast, Sam remarked. Gabriel frowned as his food, however, and saw Dean and Sam bit into their food. He looked around, seeing that the customers there were no longer there, and he became suspicious. He can see that his food was drugged. Sorry, I'm going to have to send you away now, someone obviously wants something from me, Gabriel said with a snap of his fingers, sending Sam and Dean back to the Impala. Gabriel stood up from his table and went for the door, which was magically sealed. Very strongly sealed at that. It's no use. Who are you? Gabriel heard a female voice say from behind him. Gabriel's eyes widened as he turned around, seeing a beautiful woman with curly blonde hair and large breasts, with her eyes narrowed at him. She is a powerful being, but she has nothing compared to his power. My name is Loki. What is your name, beautiful lady? Loki smirked at the blonde woman who was still glaring at him. My name is Gabriel. It can't be, but to be sure. Gabriel of heaven? Loki asked as he saw him slash herself in front of him. Yes, Seraphim Gabriel, she said as Loki laughed uncontrollably. Loki knew what was happening. He spent enough time dicking with people to know that someone is dicking with him. Who could it be? Michael certainly has the power to do so, but he isn't interested in this kind of thing. Raphael also could do so, but he doesn't have the sense of humor to do so. That leaves Lucifer the one left, as he certainly can do so, and he has the personality to do so. What's so funny? Gabriel asked defensively. This is what I look like in another dimension. I still look good, Loki said, destroying the door in front of him by focusing his power into it. The door binding spell was weak, so Loki easily broke through it with his Archangel-level powers. Impossible. I personally sealed that door, Gabriel said in shock as Loki walked out of the door. Loki then turned back to the stunned Seraph and did a mock bow. Let me reintroduce myself to you, Gabriel. My name is Gabriel, the Archangel Gabriel. I'm from another dimension, and I really need to get back to there, Loki said to the dumbfounded Seraph. Loki snapped his fingers, teleporting himself to his own dimension, leaving Gabriel in shock. What can I do for you people? Balthazar asked as he surveyed his surroundings. In the dark room beside him are Chow Chow, Leonardo, and George, each with a smirk on his face. Yes, Angel Balthazar. There is something you can do for us, Chow Chow said, emerging from the shadows. And what is that, possessor of the true Longinus sacred gear? Balthazar asked as he sipped wine from his glass. Heaven's weapons, I want them all, Chow Chow said, and received a snicker from the angel. And why on earth would you want that? You already have the top 3 Longinus in existence. More weapons never hurt, so hand them over, Chow Chow replied as Balthazar grinned. You think I'm just going to hand them over? Balthazar asked as Chow Chow sat down in a wooden chair. Of course not. I know how you angels and demons work. I want something, you want my soul. Am I correct? You are smarter than you look, Balthazar amused. But let's change up the deal. Instead of our souls for the weapons, we will give you the souls of the monsters we kill, Chow Chow said as Balthazar mused over the offer. Tempting offer, but let me give a counter offer to you gentlemen. Chow Chow raised his eyebrows but let the offer come on the table. Your 3 souls and the souls of all of those you kill. Sound fair? Why would you want human souls when you will get so many monster souls? Chow Chow asked. Human souls are better fuel than monster souls. So much so at that point. It is said that a human soul is equivalent to that of 10,000 monster souls. Chow Chow nodded as he digested the power of the human soul. Our souls are too precious to be used as fuel. Oh, of course. I don't mind taking it immediately and turn you into a soulless monster. How's 30 years for you? Balthazar asked as Chow Chow smiled. I don't think you understand. Our souls are not up for discussion, Chow Chow asked as Balthazar sighed. It is a call to give and take, so start giving. Chow Chow at this point put his smile away and put on a serious face. Alright, how's this? The original offer stands, but I don't have to torture you for the location of the weapons. Balthazar's face immediately went on alert as he became angry at being threatened like that. You hairless apes think you can threaten me? What is to stop me from simply smiting you apes? Balthazar's face said in a fury. Chow Chow only grinned wider as he glanced at George. Well, 2 reasons. Firstly, George over there has cast a spell that negates angelic powers. Secondly, if you tried to attack us, you'd be facing 3 Longinus wielders. Not such great odds, right? Chow Chow smirked out as Balthazar's face became one of terror. He knew that Balthazar is nothing without his powers, and that he doesn't have the weapons of heaven that he could possibly use against Balthazar. Now I assume that you are ready to hand over the weapons of heaven, Angel Balthazar? The monster souls can go to you because I am a nice person, Chow Chow said with a big smile on his face. Death is rather upset today. He was summoned by the Winchesters, who managed to bind him, before he was freed by the angel Castiel. To make matters worse, he found out that his son was attempting to meddle in the affairs of the world. Death could deal with many things, but he will not stand with a god messing with the natural order, especially one born of his power. Right now Death is walking through the realm of the dead, the very ground shaking with his every step. The realm of the dead is a very bleak place, only the worst of the worst go here. Whatever heaven, hell, or purgatory won't take, the realm of the dead eagerly accepts for its eternal torture. Such inhabitants include pale horses, Samo, Cabil, and the archangels Michael and Lucifer, as their cage is located within the realm of the dead. The realm of the dead is a stark contrast to the rest of hell. While hell is hot and fiery, the realm of the dead is cold and icy. The ground is frozen solid and the souls of the damned and tortured extrude horridly in an effort to relieve their eternal suffering. Today Death is marching to Hades' palace to voice his displeasure as to the god's conduct. Upon reaching the palace, a shrine built in the fashion of Greek Parthenon, Death slowly walked up the steps as lightning rolled overhead, a rare occurrence in hell. Death walked to the great hall where Hades' throne was. The moment Death walked in front of Hades' throne, the temperature of the room dropped significantly, though it couldn't go much farther given the already low temperature of the realm of the dead. Death! Hades shouted fearfully. Hades hasn't seen his father in hell, even he forgot. Hades was a Greek god, but not one of Cronus, the father of Poseidon and Zeus. Hades was the son of Death, born out of Death's power to ensure the natural order, and reaping will go on if and when Death shouldn't be able to lead the reapers. All the grim reapers in the room kneeled to the ground as they saw their deity appear in front of their very eyes. Hades, what is this I hear of you unsealing the fallen angel? Death asked his son as Hades grasped for words. If Hades could sweat, he would have been sweating millions of bullets at that moment in time. It is true that I may have lent out the fallen angel Samuel to humans, Hades stuttered out. Death looks unimpressed at Hades' explanation. Hades, do you remember what I told you of intervening in the affairs of humanity? And no, father. Is that the only act you have done against the devils and fallen angels? Tell me the truth, Hades, I know when you are lying. No, father, I haven't done anything else. Death's eyes dangerously narrowed. You are lying, Death said before holding his palm up. No, father, I can explain, Hades said before his voice was silenced. The robe that Hades was wearing fell to the ground, his bones disappearing into nothingness. Death just killed Hades, his own son and creation, as all the Grim Reapers stared at him. Death was more than willing to kill his own son if it meant restoring the natural order to the universe. Death's eyes wandered the room before focusing on a Grim Reaper with a clown mask. Pluto, congratulations, you are now the ruler of the realm of the dead, Death said as he turned around and started walking out of the throne hall. But Lord Death, what do I? Pluto started before Death cut him off. You do what Hades did, only don't interfere with the natural order. Death said as he made it to the end of the hallway. Don't mess this up. Zachariah looked around and frowned. He was personally assigned a mission by Archangel Raphael, and the mission was to slay a group of fallen angels in Japan, and to retrieve a human in their protection. As such, Zachariah had to take a smelly human as a vessel for the time being, something which greatly displeasured him. Well, whatever it takes to become a higher rank in heaven, he will do it without a second thought. He looked around at the church in front of him. It is the church where there are exactly 14 humans, and 4 low-level fallen angels. Zachariah smirked as he thought about how to enter into this fight, if one could even call it that. It would not be a fight, but a massacre. Very few beings could kill an angel, never mind a seraph like Zachariah, so Zachariah had every right to be arrogant in this situation. He smiled as he thought of what to do. Zachariah kicked in the door, sending it flying to the altar where 3 fallen angels were gathered around. Seraph! The fallen angels shouted, terrified at the sight of a seraph-level angel before their eyes. They knew that their opinions were to retreat, fight or die. Zachariah walked into the church as 13 fallen exorcists and priests gathered around the fallen angels. Zachariah didn't bother to look at them as he removed all of their lungs, causing them to collapse on the floor. He smiled as he caused the humans writhing in pain on the floor to explode, giving the church interior a new coat of red blood paint. Zachariah then cast a haughty look at the 4 fallen angels in front of him. Zachariah flicked off some of the blood of the humans from his suit as he approached the 4 fallen angels by the pulpit. Stay back, Seraph, the females once said to him as they created light spears which they held in their hands, pointed at the Seraph. The lone male in the group readied an angel blade, to which Zachariah raised his eyebrows at. Rainier, Calawarner, Middlet, Donasek. You really think you low-level fallen scum can really take me, Seraph Zachariah, in combat? We can do this. Let's get him, Rainier said, putting up a brave front that masked her absolute terror at the thought of facing Zachariah, a very well-known seraph from heaven. The 4 fallen angels displayed their wings, and took flight as they attempted to encircle Zachariah. Zachariah had a huge grin as the fallen angels encircled him. Rainier was to the front of him, Middlet was to the left, Calawarner was to the right, and Donasek was behind him. Donasek, the only one with the angel blade, rushed at Zachariah from behind, intent on stabbing the seraph with the blade. Zachariah closed his eyes as he broke Donasek's hand with a simple thought, causing the blade to start to fall. Zachariah sent the blade flying at Calawarner, instantly killing her as the blade impaled her in the chest. Dohansek tackled Zachariah, who simply moved a few inches before causing Donasek to explode with his mind. Zachariah snapped his fingers to remove the blood and remains from Donasek from his suit as Rainier attempted to teleport away. Do you really think that would have worked? Zachariah asked, negating the teleportation of Rainier. Rainier looked on fearfully as Middlet joined her side. We don't need to fight here. I'm just after the girl, Zachariah said as he came forward with his hands raised. Why, you'll let us go? Middlet asked slowly, wary as the seraph advanced. Gosh no. You could kill yourselves, or I can simply do it. Zachariah chuckled as Rainier summoned a light spear, which he chucked at Zachariah. Zachariah looked down at the light spear protruding from his stomach. He was unimpressed to say the least. Do I look like a smelly human that can be killed by one of these things? Zachariah sarcastically said as he sent Rainier flying into the wall with a simple swipe of his hand. Zachariah removed the knife that was impaled in Calawarner's chest, and launched it at the back of Rainier's head, instantly killing her. Middlet let out a scream as the seraph advanced on her. Please don't kill me. Zachariah frowned as she bowed at his feet. It did feel good to have someone obviously at his mercy, but as much as he would like to satisfy her begging request he couldn't. Sorry kiddo, heaven's orders, he said as he put his hand on Middlet. Middlet screamed as she was completely destroyed by Zachariah's holy white light. Zachariah then looked around, obviously satisfied at his handiwork. Zachariah then teleported himself to where the target of his mission was. Zachariah teleported into the basement of the church where the girl was. She was right in front of Zachariah now. The heretic, Asia Argento, tried to a crucifix in her underwear. Zachariah frowned as he felt Asia's life force, which was virtually non-existent as she was on the verge of death. Zachariah healed all of her wounds and unbound her. Where am I? Were Asia's words as she opened her eyes to see the smiling Zachariah. Thank you God. I am saved. Zachariah chuckled at her outburst. Are you an angel? She asked timidly of Zachariah. Indeed. I am a seraph in the service of God, Zachariah said, emphasizing the word seraph. Why was I saved by God, Angel-sama? I was cast out because I did the unforgivable in healing a devil, she asked as Zachariah. Zachariah smiled at the respect that Asia given him. It was refreshing for him after trying to deal with the Winchesters' constant disrespect of him. A human knew her place and Zachariah was happy about it. Your mistake was a mistake by different members of the church acting without our permission. Once heaven heard about it, we were concerned. The Archangel Raphael himself wanted you rescued as you have a special gift. Be glad, this is only the third time he has personally requested someone from Earth. You are the third, and the other two are Catherine of Siena and Francis of Assisi. Be honored. With this, Asia collapsed and prayed. Thank you, God. Thank you, Raphael Sama. Thank you, Angel Sama. She cried aloud as Zachariah smiled, glad that a human is showing him the respect he deserves. Let's go home, Zachariah said, teleported both Asia and him to heaven. Isn't this a surprise? Crowley remarked as he saw the person in front of him. The one who summoned him was a young, Japanese boy with brown hair. Otherwise completely average except for the Longinus sacred gear, boosted gear, in his body. The Longinus sacred gear was the only reason that the boy was able to summon the king of the crossroads himself to a potential deal. Crowley knew that turning the Longinus user would greatly benefit Hell, as the sacred gear would stay there a lot longer than if the human in front of him died and the sacred gear would be transferred to someone else. After Ajuka Beelzebub's technology of the evil pieces, Crowley found that making deals would be even easier as the devil pillars, arrogant beings that Crowley despised doing business with, provided Crowley with the job of middleman, and instead of taking the souls to Alistair, the souls would go to replenishing the devil's numbers. Alistair raised a fuss, but Crowley ignored him as he got a tremendous amount of power from the old devil families. Crowley smiled as he thought of the potential buyers of Issei's soul, which would still possess sacred gear after the transformation into a devil. Are you a demon? The boy, 17-year-old Issei Haida, asked him. I'm not a clown, am I? Crowley said as he allowed his eyes to turn red. You make deals, right? Issei asked, to which Crowley rolled his eyes. Did you summon me for a party, as I would like to attend one? Crowley remarked to Issei. I would like to make one. I'm all ears. I want to be a harem king. Crowley nodded as he processed the stupid request of Issei. He thought of hysterically laughing, but stopped for the sake of professionalism. The deal Issei wanted is nothing that the king of the crossroads can't do. Of course I can do that. Just like that? Issei asked, dumbfounded as Crowley approached him. Of course not. You get your wish for 10 years, then you come to hell. Crowley said this, causing Issei to reconsider. Doubt came into Issei's mind before it was promptly pushed out with help of Crowley's mind manipulation. Fine, I'll go to hell if it means I will be a harem king. How do we seal this deal? Issei said as Crowley smirked. With a kiss, Crowley said, kissing Issei on the lips. Why, you should tell me before you do that, Issei said angrily after they broke off the kiss. Crowley smirked before frowning. It's a fallen angel, a low-level one. Crowley knew the exact location of the fallen angel, which was in the trees near them. Crowley pulled out a gun and spun around, firing a single shot from his Walther P-38 at the trees. He did this in one fluid motion, so fast that Issei didn't register what had happened until he heard a scream, and witnessed a body drop from the trees. The bullet Crowley fired wasn't a normal bullet, but a bullet melted down from an angel blade, so it is capable of taking down angels and fallen angels. Crowley looked down at the black-haired female fallen angel with a disinterested look before turning back to Issei's horrified face. She would have killed you, and I can't let that happen, Crowley said as Issei got over his shock. But if I die, won't you still get my soul? Why did you save me, as you could have put me in hell already? Crowley snickered at this. Do I look like a Wall Street trust fund manager? I actually have something called integrity, he said, glancing back down at the fallen angel. 10 years. Have a blast. This place is not the Negev desert, Castiel thought as he surveyed the area around him. Around him was an arid, desert landscape devoid of life. Castiel looked around for a while before he heard the fluttering of wings, and a new aura appeared behind him. Castiel frowned as he distinguished the aura. It is powerful, and very holy. It is close to, but not exactly the aura of the Archangel Michael. Castiel frowned at the discrepancy before he turned around to see a handsome, blonde-haired man with 12 white wings. What is this vessel? Castiel asked of the leader of heaven. Castiel raised his eyebrows as he viewed the vessel of Michael, which is a young man with long, blonde hair. This is the body of Lord Edward Winchester, Sam and Dean's distant relation on his father's side. I took his body as my vessel during the First Crusade. Michael looked sadly at him as he walked to Castiel. You are right, Castiel. This is not the Negev desert, Michael said as he walked away from Castiel. Castiel followed him as they walked into a sandstorm. Do you know where this is? Michael asked Castiel, who looked around to see nothing but an intensifying sandstorm. Castiel nodded his head to signify that he didn't know where they were. It was a strange place, a place that is holy, yet not holy at the same time. A true paradox of a place. He is the Gamchikoth Desert in heaven. I've never been here before. No one has except Father and the archangels. Do you know why we are here? Michael said, turning around suddenly. Castiel looked worried as a tear fell down Michael's face. This is where Father is buried. Castiel, God is dead. Castiel didn't believe it when Raphael told him, but the way Michael said it left no doubt in Castiel's mind. God has died. I am possible. Who brought me back? Castiel said, collapsing to the ground in disbelief. That was me, Castiel. I brought you back. How? How did he die? Castiel didn't know why he said these words. These words flowed out of his mouth by himself. Michael looked down at the ground, a sad expression painted on his face. It was during the Great War. All of those years ago? God has been dead for that long? Castiel thought as Michael started directly at him. Father himself was in armor, standing on the front lines as we braced for an attack by the fallen. They came as we knew, and we managed to repel them back. It was near the end of the battle that I saw it. I was fighting off Penemu and Armoros when it happened. The call to retreat was issued by Azazel, and their forces fled en masse. Father chased them out, and he was attacked from behind by Cabil. The seraph Cabil killed him? You are too young to remember him. He was a wild, intelligent angel that was too battle-hungry. He attacked Father from behind, and stabbed him with the sword of David, killing him instantly. We are here because we buried him here. Castiel remained silent as Michael continued on. We took his body from the battlefield under complete secrecy. Only Gabriel, Raphael, and I know of this from our side. I'm not sure who Cabil told, but I'm sure that he definitely told some of it, Michael said, moving a few steps to the left. We couldn't have news of this leaking out. Can you imagine the chaos of a world without Father? A world without God, Michael said, looking down at a patch at the sand below him. We took over heaven, and led it in the name of Father. The way Father would have wanted it. We've held back the truth from the host for all of this time, Michael said, glancing back at Castiel. Please forgive us for this. The Archangel Michael apologizing to him? I completely understand, Castiel said, taking the news of God's death relatively well. Do you want to say anything? Michael said, gesturing to the area in front of him. Castiel's body moved by itself to the side of Michael. Father, I don't know what to say to you. Are we doing the right things? Oh please, Father, forgive me for my sins. Michael looked on as his brother broke down, and wept on God's grave. We've forgiven you, Castiel. You've shown us the error of our ways. You've done what we all should have done from the beginning, and for that, you are being promoted, Castiel, Archangel Castiel. I don't know what to say, Castiel said. Don't say anything. It's what God would have wanted. Rise of him. Levon Lucifer is sitting near the table of his hideout in the human world. The hideout is on the French Riviera, and the hideout is a mansion that is normally filled with only him and his most loyal servant, Euclid Lucifuge. Normally is the key word, but today is special. Sitting in front of him is Azazel, leader of hell. Rise of him would have normally turned him away, but he was interested to say the least about the leader of hell. Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon who took the name of the leader of the fallen angels, says he has news regarding Lucifer, the father of Rise of him. So you found Father? Took you long enough, Rise of him said, taking another sip of his wine. Yes, I did. Took me long because you stopped looking, Azazel muttered out. Euclid stepped forward, but Rise of him put his hand out and kept him back. Rise of him's face twisted with rage and a sadistic smile appeared on his face. You think you did more than me? His actual son and not an impostor like you? I should smite you here on the spot to prove a point. You are lucky that I am retired from the petty bickering that plagues hell these days. You young demons, I swear. This is why I don't associate with you demons or even devils anymore, Rise of him shouted before coming back under control. Azazel, on the other hand, was extremely fearful. He wasn't scared easily, and only a few could scare him. Lilith, Cain, Alistair, and especially Rise of him scared the living crap out of him. Of course not. It's just that I haven't had any help from anyone and that I looked for him myself, Azazel quickly said. Anyway, I'm in the game now. What did he tell you to do? Bring him a special child. And I am sure you will do fine with that. Rise of him said lazily. 2 years ago, Rise of him and Euclid are walking through a graveyard. They come upon a corpse, and Rise of him simply laughs. He picks up the head of the corpse on the ground. Alas, poor Azazel. I knew him, Euclid. Present day, Lilith is standing in S Convent in Maryland, waiting for him. Sam Winchester, the one who is supposed to take her life. She isn't happy about it, but nonetheless resigned herself to her fate. Her back is turned towards the altar, waiting for him. She frowned as she felt 2 familiar presences teleport behind her. Her frown turned into a twisted smile as she turned. Rise of him, How lovely it's to see you. She turned around, seeing her son and Euclid Lucifuge, son of a very notable devil pillar that supported her in hell. Euclid, nice to see you again. Euclid bowed slightly to Lilith. Lady Lilith, he replied curtly. Ah, mother, how long has it been? Ryzavim said mockingly to his mother. His mother formed a reluctant smile at this. Are you here to watch the show too? She said this, knowing of her fate and the fact that nothing can stop it. If Sam Winchester doesn't kill her, Ryzavim will. We all know of how it is going to end, Lady Lilith. Euclid expressed in a happy tone. Of course, it isn't every day that father gets summoned back to roam the earth, Ryzavim said as the doors burst open, revealing Sam Winchester and Ruby. Sam Winchester? I imagined you to be taller. Ryzavim snickered as Sam used his telekinesis on him, sending him into the wall. Euclid was about to respond, but Ryzavim called out to him. It's fine, Euclid. Impressive, Sam Winchester, you've turned into quite the monster, Ryzavim said, getting off the wall. Sam again tried using his telekinesis on him. Ryzavim grins as he remains in place. Think that'd work twice on me? Anyway, I'm not going to do anything. Isn't Mother your target? Mother? You're Ryzavim? Ruby asked in awe. Who is he? Sam asked, switching his attention to the grinning Lilith and frowning Ryzavim. Ah, the humans don't know about me? Ryzavim pouted as he glanced at Euclid by his side. He is Lucifer's and Lilith's son, Ruby explained to Sam. I've been caught, Ryzavim said, holding his hands up mockingly. But don't worry, I'm here for the same thing you are, Sam Winchester. To see Lilith die, Ryzavim said as Lilith rolled her eyes at him. Why? Why would you turn on your own mother? Sam said angrily, thinking of his own mother at the time. You humans and your relationships. I swear I'll never understand your need for relationships. Does it matter? Ryzavim said as Lilith raised her hand, attempting to throw Sam to no effect. Have at her, Ryzavim said, materializing a bucket of popcorn into his arms. Sam, Dean said from the hallway. Ryzavim frowned as he closed the door and instructed Euclid to hold it in place. Sam turned his confused look on Lilith as he held out his hand, flinging Lilith against the altar. I've been waiting for this. For a very long time, Sam said as he walked down Lilith. Then give me your best shot. Lilith taunted as Ryzavim greedily munched on popcorn. Sam used his white light on Lilith, who screamed in pain. Ryzavim looks on as he stuffs popcorn into his mouth. Sam stops the white light and looks to the door. Dean, what are you doing? Finish her, Sam. Now, Ruby yelled. You can do it. Ryzavim laughed as he stuffed more popcorn into his mouth. Lilith giggled at this. You turned yourself into a freak. A monster. And now you're not gonna bite? I'm sorry, but that is honestly adorable. Lilith mocked Sam with this. Sam focused his power on Lilith, who convulsed before going limp. Lilith, the first demon, mother of Ryzavim, and queen of hell has died. The blood from Lilith's body started flowing. It's done! It's done! Euclid, let go of the door, Ryzavim said, breaking into a maniacal laugh. Sam, Dean! Dean rushed to Sam. Ruby rushed towards Ryzavim, and Euclid near the wall of the convent. You open the door. He's free! He is free at last, Ruby said as Ryzavim and Euclid looked at the two brothers, smiles on their faces. He is going to be free again, Ryzavim said as the blood flowed into a circular pattern. Lord Lucifer is returning, Euclid shouted as the ground started to quake. The ground started to disappear inside the circle pattern, and tremendous light appeared. It's happening! It's happening! Wahahoho, Ryzavim said as his twisted face fixed itself on the Winchester brothers. Dean, having pulled the demon-killing knife out of Ruby, charged at Ryzavim, who simply smirked. Ryzavim saw that Dean aimed the blade at his face, and didn't move. The blade lodged itself into his left eyeball, but didn't kill Ryzavim. In fact, it only made laugh even harder than before. Do you think that would kill me? A super devil with that little rubber blade? Ryzavim said, grabbing Dean by the throat. Dean! Sam said, trying to use his powers on Ryzavim, only to find out that he exhausted himself on Lilith. Sam, Dean choked out as Ryzavim lifted him off the ground. I'd say that I thought you would be smarter, but that would be a lie, Ryzavim said, throwing Dean into the wall on the far side of the convent. Ryzavim started at Sam's shocked face. Don't worry, boy, we have plans for you, Ryzavim said, twisted as he felt Lucifer's aura in the room. Father underestimated him, and they were all going to die because of him. She saw Kiba, profusely bleeding from his body. All of them were bleeding. They were no match for him, and they were all going to pay for underestimating him. Rhea stared as Cabil, who was grinning madly from his face. Sona was no match for him either, and now they were all going to die, just because they had failed. Wahahoho! I thought that I'd have more fun, but I guess not. Well then, prepare to die, Cabil said, readying his light spears to be thrown at the dying devils. Rias closed her eyes, ready for imminent death. She opened her eyes after several seconds, wondering if this is what death for devils look like. She stared at Cabil, who is staring at the sky. Cabil has an angry expression on his face, and is shouting profanities at the sky. If you think you can, just come down here. I'll kill you just like I'll kill these devils. Are you sure about that, Cabil? A new, male voice said to all in attendance. Cabil's red eyes widened maliciously as he saw the speaker of the voice. An African-American man strolled through the bodies of the dying devils, lazily glancing at them as he walked towards Cabil. Raphael, so Michael is sending you in his place? Is he too scared to face me himself? All the eyes widened at this fact. Here he was. One of the archangels recorded in the Bible was here, right in front of them. This didn't give any comfort to the devils here though. They knew angels, especially the archangels' attitudes towards devils. Most angels viewed devils as mutations and bastards, and treated any that they saw with great cruelty and contempt. Raphael simply frowned as he heard this. He remembered Cabil's arrogance, which had been evident in heaven, and remembered how much Cabil had annoyed him. Do you really think he is scared of an Ophanim like you? Has your time away from heaven diminished your intelligence as well? Raphael spoke as another body teleported next to him. Here was a young, white male wearing a jean jacket and jean pants. Cabil grinned sadistically as he saw him. Michael. Yes, it is Michael, currently inhabiting the form of a young John Winchester. Once an archangel has possessed a vessel, it can materialize it and inhabit the body at a whim. Cabil. What is this? Michael asked sternly. Cabil sneered at this. Are you that foolish? I want to start the apocalypse, and prove that we fallen are superior to you arrogant ones in heaven once and for all. I'll finish what Shemhazai and Azazel were too cowardly to do, and you think that is your role? What gives you the right to start it? Michael said as Cabil laughed maniacally. Still following that stupid man's orders? You think I'm going to let you and Lucifer start the apocalypse? That should be my job. I want to end this world. Michael narrowed his eyes dangerously as Cabil said, stupid man. That is my father you are talking about, Cabil. Did you forget he was yours too? TCH, he was holding me back. He was holding all of us back. Too many rules, too many regulations. So what if we want to kill humans once in a while? So what if we had forceful relations with human women and fathered Nephilim? And that is why I killed him, Cabil ranted as Michael glanced at the dying devils, who are all wide-eyed at the conversation. Michael closed his eyes as he pondered Cabil's words. A feeling came into his body. Sadness. Yes, the God who created everything had died at Cabil's hand. Michael knew of Trihexa, and the amount of power required to seal it away. The power drained so much away from God that killing him was rather easy, and Cabil exploited that, killing God in the final stages of the Great War. Michael kept this secret, only letting Raphael know of God's death and Trihexa's existence, and so Michael assumed the role of heaven's leader, because Father said that we couldn't. And that is why we can't. He gave us tasks and those are the ones we must fulfill. Cabil's face twisted into a maniacal grin. Okay, then I will be the one that kills you and Raphael, those devils, and anyone else who is foolish enough to stand up to me. Heal these devils, Raphael. I'll deal with Cabil, Michael said as wings appeared from his back. Unlike most angels, the wings of archangels and high-ranking angels physically materialize and can be used for flight. The minimum number of wings that an angel needs to have his wings materialize physically is 6. Michael has 12 wings, each the brightest white possible with a golden glow, extruding dangerous amounts of holy aura to the devils below. Michael has a golden halo on his head, completing his battle form, something that no one has seen since the Great War all those years ago. Any human that viewed his transformation would have instantly died, as would have any devils, but Raphael shielded them from the harmful effects from the holy light. Michael looked sadly at Cabil, his former brother. Your move, brother, Michael said as Cabil grinded his teeth. Still not taking me seriously? Die, Cabil said, laughing thousands of light spears at the leader of heaven, who simply didn't flinch at the barrage. Michael looked unimpressed as the light spears flew at him, before he teleported away from the spears. Cabil, you and I both know that will not work, Michael said, a frown adoring his face. TCH, your turn then. See if you can kill me. We both know the answer to that, Cabil. Cabil flew into a rage at this. Just because you were his first, doesn't make you better than me. He was stupid for making you an archangel when that should have been me. Michael's eye twitched at this. He doesn't tolerate disrespect, especially about him, or his father, God. Is this how you really want to end? Michael asked him seriously as he put his fingers in snapping position. Do you think I am that weak that you can do that to me? You didn't have the guts to kill Penemu. What makes you think you have the guts to kill someone like me? Michael smiled at Cabil's words. No matter what Cabil did, he was an angel, someone that Michael held close to him. Michael gave all the chances to back down, but Cabil refused. All right then, goodbye Cabil, Michael said, snapping his fingers. Cabil exploded into millions of pieces as Michael scattered his grace into the cosmos. Michael had just killed Cabil. Michael, what should we do about them? Raphael said, referring to the devils who know the truth about God's death. Let's erase their minds, we can't have word of this leak out, Michael said as they turned to the terrified devils. Michael and Raphael simply held their hands out, and their minds were wiped clean due to angelic magic. The devils collapsed on the ground as the archangels ascended back to heaven after fixing Academy. Ah, who are you? Irina Shida shouted as she reached for her sword. She is yelling this to the man in the trenchcoat, staring at her and Zenobia as they slept. Are we under attack? Zenobia said, getting her sword, the Excalibur Destruction, and pointing it at the man, who is still staring at them blankly. Please do not be alarmed. I was sent to help you in your mission. Identify yourself, Zenobia said, still pointing the sword at the figure. My name is Castiel, and I am an angel of the Lord. They didn't believe it. He said he was an angel, and he proved it by displaying his wings to them. Zenobia and Irina were in shock at having seen an actual angel. For the duration of their lives, they've seen everything, or so they thought. They've seen wraiths, ghosts, demons, vampires, and anything else supernatural, but they've never seen an angel, and now they were very confident that they were going to find the Excaliburs. The two went into the meeting with the Occult Research Club with Castiel, instilling fear and concern into the devils. Rias knew of the power of the angels, of their abilities to completely destroy all but the most powerful of Hell's inhabitants. Demons and devils were no match for angels, and Rias knew of this mainly from her brother, who has faced off with many angels, barely surviving the encounters with them. If her brother, one of the strongest devils, and one of the two super devils in existence couldn't handle middle-class angels, how could she? These thoughts were in Rias' mind as she looked at the two exorcists and Castiel. Castiel's gaze, however, was not on Rias, but on Aquino. Castiel focused intently on her, feeling the aura her body is extruding. Aquino was sending back daggers at Castiel. Her hatred of her father is projected onto Castiel, not a fallen angel, but an angel nonetheless. Castiel was standing silently as Irina spoke to Rias, but felt the need to say something due to Aquino's glare. Is there something of the matter, Nephilim devil? Rias gasped as Aquino shook with fury. Everyone readied their weapons as Castiel gazed at Aquino. What did you call me? Aquino asked, her voice teeming with rage. Nephilim devil. Your father was Barakiel, a fallen angel, and your mother was a human. You were therefore a Nephilim before becoming a devil, henceforth Nephilim devil. Aquino launched a lightning blast at Castiel, who dodged the attack after teleporting Irina and Zenobia out of the room. Zenobia and Irina were in shock and looked at Castiel, who had a worried expression on his face. I believe that we were just attacked. Zenobia and Irina face planted at this. They looked up in terror at him. Zenobia and Irina looked up at Cabil, who was grinning maniacally. They attacked his base without Castiel. Zenobia said she could do it, and Irina agreed. Castiel nodded and went back to heaven to report the attack on him by Aquino. And so they prayed that he would come back and help them finish Cabil. A flutter of wings was heard, and Cabil turned to see Castiel with an angel blade. They were saved. Castiel, how nice of you to show up, Cabil said sarcastically as he flexed his 10 black wings at Castiel, who remained unimpressed. You think that little blade can kill me? Cabil joked as he stared down at Castiel, who let his own wings be shown. Have you forgotten that being out of heaven removes much of your power, fallen? Cabil frowned at this, and charged at Castiel. Cabil generated 2 light swords, and swung them at Castiel. Castiel blocked one of the light swords with his angel blade, and sidestepped to avoid the other one. Castiel punched Cabil in the face, staggering the fallen angel, before thrusting the angel blade into the fallen. Instead of white coming out of Cabil, pure darkness radiated from Cabil as he died. Castiel examined the shadow of Cabil on the ground, 10 wings imprinted on the surface of Japan. Cabil has died. This is strange. Indeed. 2 figures are seated across from each other. There is a young John Winchester, and on the other side, a handsome blonde-haired man dressed in armor. This is Michael, the leader of heaven, talking to Michael, the Archangel of heaven. No, Michael is not talking to himself. That would be appropriate for Gabriel or Raphael, but never Michael. Michael doesn't talk to himself. The Archangel occupying John Winchester as a vessel is aware of the existence of other worlds existing in different dimensions. He's toured everywhere possible that God, his father, created. He's been to Oz, Avalon, Purgatory, Hell before it became the home of demons, and numerous alternate Earths. He knew that his father created numerous alternate Earths. But Michael himself was unaware of exactly how many alternate Earths exist in different dimensions. So the Archangel within John Winchester wasn't surprised when the blonde-haired man announced himself as the leader of heaven, Michael, after falling out of a portal. Personally, the Archangel within John Winchester wasn't impressed by the alternate Michael. John Winchester's Michael was surprised at how weak alternate Michael was. If he was to estimate the strength of the alternate Michael, he would put it at a rather high-level seraphim, probably on the par of Zachariah. Then again, he is the one of the strongest beings in existence, only surpassed by death and his father God, something Michael took pride in. Both Michaels are interested in each other, so they have agreed to sit down and talk with each other. So, who is your vessel? The Archangel within John Winchester asked alternate Michael, who wore a puzzled look on his face. By vessel, you mean one whose body we inhabit when we go to Earth? John Winchester's Michael nodded at this. We don't have vessels. We can create any form we desire and inhabit it. The Michael and Jeans nodded. But if you were to occupy a human, do you need their consent? No. That being said, there are few instances where we would need to possess a human, and we could mimic their shape regardless. John Winchester's Michael was very surprised at this. Really? For us, we need to gain a vessel's permission to use them, and only a select few can be used, otherwise they would explode from our grace. Alternate Michael nodded at this explanation. In this universe, do you have a brother named Lucifer who rebels? Alternate Michael asked. Yes, he was a brother, an archangel like me. He refused to bow to the humans as Father asked us, and he was cast out after twisting a human soul into a demon soul, among other things. Alternate Michael dwelled on these words for a moment before responding. I see. I suppose that our timelines are similar, except for a few differences. Lucifer was my brother, but he was only a seraphim. I am the only archangel. Anyway, what happened to your Lucifer? In our dimension, Lucifer fell with a third of heaven, and they became called devils. There was a three-way war between heaven, hell, and fallen angels, and Lucifer perished in it. Alternate Michael said, to the Archangel within John Winchester, Lucifer is currently sealed away in hell. He is trapped in a cage that our Father created for him. It will be unsealed shortly, and we shall do battle to the death. John Winchester's Michael said as he snapped his fingers, causing a portal to appear, showing Sam and Dean Winchester. The shorter one is my true vessel. The other human is his brother, and he is Lucifer's true vessel. After battle, paradise will ensue on earth. Alternate Michael listened and digested the information. Tell me something. Is Father still alive here? He's dead in your universe? John Winchester's Michael asked in shock. Yes. He was killed in the war I mentioned earlier. Impossible, that shouldn't be able to happen. As for my father, he is living somewhere on earth. Where, I do not know, but I know he is still living. I see. You mentioned that your brother Lucifer was an archangel. What other archangels exist in your dimension? Gabriel and Raphael are also archangels. I have a question for you. You said that the third of heaven that fell with Lucifer became devils. Devil is a word that means Satan, incorrectly applied to my brother. What does it mean in your dimension, as how can angels change into something they are not? I'm not sure where the term devil came from. It was probably a human term that everyone started using. The third that fell with Lucifer reside in hell, and their descendants populate hell to this day. Lucifer has a descendant that was a leader in hell. Lucifer has a son? Yes. He married Lilith, and they have a son, Rise of him. Interesting. Lilith is the name of a powerful demon in hell. She is very powerful, but she isn't a demon in my universe. She was an angel that fell with Lucifer and became his wife. Anyway, in this universe, can you create angels? In mine, we have a system that can reincarnate other beings into angels. Blasphemy. Only God should be able to create angels. Since God died, there was no way to create angels, and since the fallen kept tempting our angels to fall, our numbers dwindled. We had to use the system to change other beings into angels. Alternate Michael said, pulling out 12 cards from his person and laying them out on the table. The Archangel within John Winchester looked curiously as Alternate Michael spread the cards out. Do you have the game of poker in this universe? Alternate Michael asked, to which the other Michael nodded. These cards are based off the cards in that game. There are 13 cards in the set. Since this system is in its early stages of development, the cards have only been limited to me and 10 seraphim. Alternate Michael said as the other Michael stared attentively at the cards on the table. We reincarnate beings, whether they be human or monster, into angels. The cards increase in power as the numbers increase. 2 is the weakest, king is the strongest, and ace is the wild card. Alternate Michael said as the other Michael put a finger on his chin in thought. Each card has its own power. When paired up, and the numbers form 21, the power created is enough to kill man or God. As of this moment, the ones on the 4 king cards are me, Raphael, Gabriel, and Ariel. John Winchester's Michael nodded at alternate Michael's explanation of the cards before picking up the king card. He placed the card back down before offering a few words in response. Your planet is very strange. Indeed it is. Dean was uncomfortable. That normally wouldn't be cause for concern. He stopped the apocalypse, sent Dick Roman back to Purgatory, and was tortured in hell. But today is different. Right in front of him is a girl. A very special type of girl. A girl with big breasts. Now that would normally make Dean very happy. But today it just freaked him out. Said girl was dressed in a pink magical girl outfit, similar to the outfits of the heroines found in Japanese manga pages or anime episodes. Similarly, the girl in front of him right now, the girl with big breasts, is in the body of a small child. You heard that right. A magical girl with big breasts in a child's body. Did Sailor Moon suddenly become hot? Dean thought as the girl in question suddenly joined up with a well-dressed red-haired man. Damn, he's hot. Linda Tren thought as she joined up with Dean, her eyes never leaving the red-haired man. I guess we're not as original as we thought, Kevin said as he stared at the tablet, which was covered. It's okay, we just have to come up with a plan B, Sam Winchester said as a familiar voice beckoned to them. And what, pray tell, could possibly have been plan A? Bring the prophet to the most dangerous place on earth, memorize the tablet, and then vamoose? Hello, boys. Crowley said this, causing the Winchesters and the Trans to glare at him. You're late, Crowley, a harmonious male voice said to Crowley, as the humans in the room looked towards the voice. It was the red-haired male and his big-breasted, magical girl companion. There was another person accompanying them, a silver-haired woman in a maid's outfit. Ah yes, I was getting acquainted with some old friends and the prophet, Crowley said as the 3 newcomers gathered around Crowley and stared at the Winchesters and Trans. Isn't the dress-up party after this? Dean snidely remarked at the new group around Crowley. I thought you'd be wetting your pants after you saw her, squirrel. After all, you do what that stuff, yes, what was it called? Hentai, I believe? It's an art form, Dean snapped back to the king of hell. Enough, the red-haired male said, silencing Dean and Crowley. I believe introductions are in order. My name is Sirzex Lucifer. Lucifer? Sam and Dean jumped back and Linda grabbed her son tightly. Sirzex and Crowley simply chuckled at this. Don't worry. This Lucifer is far nicer than the baby locked up in the cage, Crowley remarked. I do believe that I am far kinder than my namesake, Sirzex said as he motioned towards Graphia. And this is my lovely wife, Graphia Lucifuge, he said as the maid gave a small bow. And I'm Seraphal Leviathan. But you can call me Levitan, Seraphal said, giving a little wink at the Winchesters, who looked stunned, and Kevin, who looked starstruck before getting slapped in the back of the head by his mother. No need to introduce yourselves as we know who you are. The boy king of hell, the righteous man who killed the yellow-eyed demon and Dick Roman, and the prophet and his mother. It truly is an honor to meet you. Seraphal and I are among the rulers of hell, Sirzex said, offering his hand to the group of humans, who eyed him wearily. Wait, you are the rulers of hell? I thought Crowley was, Sam said as Kevin shook Sirzek's hand. It's complicated, Moose. They are devils, you know, the old money that fell with Lucifer all those years ago. They have their own society in hell. And we barely interact with each other, except for important occasions like today, Crowley said. What Crowley said is correct. We are the descendants of angels that fell all those years ago, but despite our name, we aren't evil, and we generally leave humans alone, Sirzex said as Crowley rolled his eyes, away from Sirzek's sight of course. Gentlemen, the auction is starting, Bo said as Sirzex and the devils followed him into the auction room. Good luck with the bidding, Crowley said before rejoining the group of devils. Seraphal Leviathan waited impatiently as item after item was auctioned off to the highest bidder, and then, her item came onto the stage for auction. Our 9th item, Armor of Susanoo as he killed the evil dragon Yamato no Orochi. Oh. Me. 2 vials of phoenix tears and 2 tons of pixie dust, Seraphal Leviathan said energetically. Going once, going twice, and sold to Ms. Leviathan, Bo said as Seraphal jumped up and down energetically. Our next lot, the Word of God capital G, very old, very rare, Bo said. $3 billion. Crowley said. Working prototypes for the evil peace system, Sirzex said as Crowley looked at him stunned. I thought we were working together on this. We'll share it, Sirzex remarked to Crowley as Sam and Duriel stood up. the Mona Lisa, pictures of the lone female seraphim, Gabriel, naked. Everyone stared at the new voice. It was of a man in a fedora and purple coat. Said man dramatically took off the fedora, and revealed his black hair and blonde bangs. Leader of the fallen angels, Azazel. Crowley muttered at the newcomer. Azazel? Yellow Eyes? Dean hostilely asked as Crowley chuckled. That Azazel was an imposter. This is the real one who didn't kill Mommy Winchester. Let's get back to business, Bose said impatiently. Vatican City, Samanduriel offered. Alaska, Crowley said. Lucifad, Surzek said. Pictures of Gabriel and Seraphal making out. Azazel. You promised you would burn those pictures forever, Seraphal said, trying to charge at the fallen angel before being restrained by Graphia. You think I'd burn something as hot as that? Can I see them? Dean asked Azazel. Dean, what? I just want to see if this Gabriel is hot. Is that so wrong? Dean said defensively to Sam and his bitch face. Azazel, objects like that are not needed at this auction. Please refrain from offering such objects. Right now, Surzek's offer of Lucifad is the highest bid. Any other offers? Bose said. The moon, Crowley said as Surzek looked at him in shock. Alright, I'll have to pull out the big ones. I'll offer Lucifad, the blood of Samuel, and our evil pieces technology, Surzek said as Azazel spoke up. I'll give you 1,000 pictures of Gabriel, Seraphal, Kateria, or fallen female angels, nude or posing. Someone get him out of here. Azazel was dragged out of there, but not before handing Dean a picture of Gabriel the Seraph, and sold to Surzek, Bose said, banging down the gavel to end the bid for that item. Rias, where are we transporting these to? Issei asked as he stood in front of Devil escort of the two humans shackled behind him. The two humans are members of the hero faction that were captured after their attack on the underworld. Issei, they are going to pay for their crimes against the underworld. They will get their day in court, but first, they are going to tell my brother of their plans, Rias simply said as Issei stared at the structure in front of him. How are we planning on doing that? A spell similar to bilingual to reveal their secrets, Kiba asked. No, him, Rias said, pointing to the man who got in front of them. Issei and Kiba jumped at the stranger, surprised that he managed to get in front of them without them noticing. Aquino simply giggled as Asia stared curiously at the man. It was a pale man, with black hair and a small black beard. The man is wearing a smock with red marks splattered on it, indicating blood. His face has an unsettling smile plastered on it. It is the face of a sadist, to which Issei shivered. Ms. Gremry, Ms. Haimajima. Nice to see you again in my, have you grown? The man said, taking Ria's hand and kissing it, before doing the same to Aquino's hand. Issei glared as the man glanced in their direction. New devils? Alistair asked regarding them. Yes, Kibayiro, my knight. Asia Argento, my bishop. Zenobia, my other knight. Issei Hayadu, my pawn, and the Red Dragon Emperor. Rias introduced to the man, who simply nodded. Everyone, this is Alistair. He is Hell's torturer, Rias said as everyone beside her and Aquino froze at the word torturer. Alistair, noticing this, smirked and gave a mock bow to the new devils. No one spoke up for a few seconds, so Alistair broke the silence. So I assume that I have new humans in need for torture? Alistair said, glancing at the bound Heracles and Jean. Rias and the rest of them nodded, clearly not wanting to speak to the somewhat unstable torturer of hell. Alistair grabbed the chain that held the two humans together towards his workhouse as they struggled in vain to get out of his grasp, fearful of Alistair's reputation. Miss Haimajima, if you want to, you could watch like you did last time. Alistair chuckled, turning back to Rias' queen. Maybe some other time, Rias said quickly, not wanting to hear her queen's answer. Well, your loss? Comfortable? Alistair chuckled as he tightened the restraints chaining Jean to the operating table. He is standing between two tables, with Jean on his left, and Heracles on his right, buried under a mountain of shackles. Alistair went back to his rack of tools, displaying them to the bound humans, who looked in horror as Alistair picked out a dental drill. You know what I like about my job? It is the job where you never start learning. You learn a new thing about the body, or the soul with every scream. You learn that people can only be pushed so far, that when they are pushed over the edge, they will even wish death upon their mother to save themselves. Alistair said, turning on the dental drill, bring the rotating object near each human's face as he hummed along with the drill's sound. I apologize, I'm scaring you, aren't I? Alistair said, powering off the dental drill before putting it back on the rack. He hummed a tune as he picked up a chisel and a wooden wedge. This is honestly what is going to happen. Lord Lucifer wants to know what is doing on with the rest of your little group. He told me to get the information out of you, by any means necessary. So, I will start denailing you. It is something I learned, let's see, 2400 years ago in China. I had to torture the whore of some Chinese family when I was up there. I must admit, she has a remarkable will, being able to survive my torture for a demon week. Alistair chuckled. I needed to get creative, and that I did. I wedged this piece underneath her fingernails, and one by one, took them out. It wasn't clean, nothing ever is, and I was given what I wanted to know, Alistair said, dragging the chisel on Heracles' face, causing a nick on it. Now, who wants to go first? Alistair said, placing a wedge next to each person. Ha! Do your worst demon. I, a descendant of proud Heracles, will never tell you. Okay. I'll tell you everything. Just don't torture me, Jean cried as Alistair smiled. You have done well, Chow Chow. But there will be one final test before I fully fund your little hero faction, Hades said, gesturing the kneeling heroes to rise. What is it, Hades-sama? Chow Chow asked as he glanced at George and Leonardo. The final test. Yes. You will go to Monsters' Paradise, and bring them to me. You will learn the value of your humanity from there. Monsters' Paradise? You are talking of Purgatory? Chow Chow asked the ruler of the realm of the dead. Yes, you are intelligent, Chow Chow. I will send you to Purgatory. And you, and one other, and only one other, must fulfill this task that I will assign to you. What is the task? Chow Chow asked to Hades. This list details everything, Hades said as Pluto delivered the scroll to Chow Chow, who opened it and read the message. It's a list. Craft a sword out of gopher wood. Defeat an elder one. Escort the righteous mortal out of purgatory. Chow Chow smiled at this. A task that will actually challenge his abilities. Purgatory. A place for monsters to reside for all of eternity. Humans aren't supposed to be here, but 3 currently are. Chow Chow, Siegfried, and the righteous mortal, Dean Winchester. What should be the first objective we complete? Siegfried asked, wielding Graham in his arms. Chow Chow looked around, and saw the blackness of purgatory. He took a deep breath of the purgatory air and smiled. It's pure, for lack of a better word. Gopher wood, Chow Chow said, twirling his spear around before creating a tremendous beam of energy that felled the nearest tree. Help me craft a sword from this, Chow Chow said as he walked towards the downed tree. How do you know this is made out of gopher wood? Siegfried asked him. I've had the chance to interview a monster who was there since the flood. This monster escaped from purgatory, and he said the wood in purgatory was the gopher wood from the Bible, Chow Chow said before smiling as growls from werewolves were heard in the background. Werewolves. Get ready, Siegfried, we've got company. Chow Chow smirked as he ducked underneath the swing of the Wendigo, kicking it back before chopping the head off with a slash from his gopher wood sword, which he had grown fond of. The angel is near. It must be Castiel, and from him, we will find Dean, Chow Chow said as he observed Siegfried gracefully slicing off the head of the other Wendigo with his bomb. Siegfried kicked the rolling head before rejoining Chow Chow. How do we know that Castiel is with Dean? It makes sense, Siegfried. Strength in numbers is better than being alone in a place like this. He knows this too. Roger that. Dean Winchester? Chow Chow asked, observing the 3 in front of him as Siegfried brandished his gram at Benny the vampire. Yeah, who are you? Dean Winchester said, warily as he hurled firmly onto his weapon. Humans. My name is Chow Chow, and he is Siegfried. Dean smirked at this. No human gets into purgatory unless they ice the Leviathan with the bone. How the hell did you get in here? We're here to break you free. You've got friends in high places, you know, Siegfried stated as he mirrored the vampire's movements. Which dick wants me out this time? Dean asked. Hades, Chow Chow as Dean laughed. The Greek god of death wants me out. That's funny. Dean chuckled. We don't know why either, but we need to help you get out of here, Chow Chow said as he glanced at Castiel. So you're Castiel. I've take it the angels have heard of us, Chow Chow said as Castiel nodded. Dean, these humans are special humans that have been bestowed with powers given by my father. They have weapons that can take down anyone if mastered properly, Castiel explained. Sacred gears, Chow Chow said. Not just any sacred gears. Longinus-class sacred gears, Castiel said warily. This conversation is well and good, but we need to get you out of here, Chow Chow said, glaring at Benny. The vampire comes with us, Dean said firmly as he knew what Chow Chow was thinking. Fine. Is that the portal? Chow Chow asked. Yeah, Benny said. It is reacting to our presence, Siegfried noted. All right, Benny, come on it, Dean said, chanting the spell that allowed Benny to be absorbed into his body. The 4 of them headed towards the portal, before an eerie voice called towards Dean. Dean, never thought I'd see you in here. Dean turned, and glared at the smirking owner of the voice. Dick. Yes, it was Dick Roman. Formerly one of the most powerful men in America, and secret leader of the Leviathans. Chow Chow looked surprised at the head Leviathan and 2 of his subordinates, a man and woman, both dressed in black. Dick Roman, you're the Alpha Leviathan? Chow Chow asked. Chow Chow, is it? I've heard about your activities against our China branch. The descendant of a hero is quite fitting. To answer your question, no, I am not the Alpha if you mean the first. I wasn't the first, but I was the most powerful. Anyway, enough of this small talk, I have some payback for all of you, Dick said as his two subordinates marched towards the fore. Angel, Chow Chow said, tossing Castiel the gopher-wood sword. Siegfried decapitated the male Leviathan with a slice of his Gram sword. Chow Chow stabbed the female Leviathan in the chest with the spear before retracting it, and slashing her head off with the spear. Dick Roman advanced to Castiel, who thrusted the gopher-wood sword at Dick. Dick grabbed Castiel's arm, dodging the stab attempt as he broke Castiel's arm with a downward forearm strike. Chow Chow swung the sword at Dick Roman's neck from behind, causing it come clean off. Mission accomplished. Let's go, Chow Chow said, dragging Castiel into the portal. Bring all of them back onto Earth. Zachariah. Archangel Michael, Zachariah said, quickly bowing his head in submission to the Archangel who had taken John Winchester's form whilst in heaven. Rise now. I have a task for you, Michael said sternly as Zachariah stood erect. Of course, Archangel Michael. I'd gladly do anything for heaven's authority, Zachariah said energetically, happy at the thought of performing a mission, thereby enhancing his own reputation in case of a success, which always happens. Do you remember Cabil? Michael asked. Yes, he was a fallen seraph who became a leader in the Grigori. Correct. We've located him, and we want you to capture him, and bring him back, alive, Michael said as Zachariah smiled. Zachariah thought that Cabil was a stupid battle-hungry ass, and took pleasure in the thought of beating him down, just to the brink of death. It is my pleasure. This is all he can do now, Zachariah thought, looking at the weak magical barrier around Co Academy. He frowned as placed his palm on the barrier, shattering it into a million pieces of glass. What a weak barrier. Is this what he has fallen to? No pun intended. Zachariah chuckled to himself as he strolled into the damaged academy. He felt the aura of Cabil and the devils of the area. He knew that the Gremry and Citri devils and their peerages were there, but that isn't his concern now. Normally he'd kill any devils he saw, but the orders from Michael were very clear to retrieve Cabil and bring him back to heaven as quickly as possible, so he brushed aside the thoughts of dead devils as he made his way to where Cabil is. Zachariah walked unopposed, with no devils in the way as he saw the form of Cabil in the sky. Black wings? Zachariah rolled his eyes when he caught a glimpse of Cabil's wings. Zachariah was very prideful in the visage of his wings, and considered it weak and disgraceful to materialize them like Cabil was doing. Zachariah walked toward the clearing Cabil was, ignoring the hostile glances the devils were giving him. Hey Cabil, Zachariah shouted as he eyed the fallen angel and Grigori leader. Cabil maliciously frowned and spat out the angel's name. Zachariah, Cabil said in disgust as Zachariah shook his head. That's how you greet a brother? You aren't my brother, you arrogant prick. Well, enough of pleasantries. You're coming with me, back to heaven, to get tortured in the dungeons. Zachariah smiled cheerfully, enjoying the look of despair on Cabil's face. Cabil remembered the horrors of the dungeons, only escaping the dungeons when Azazel broke him out as he led the second wave of angels to fall from heaven. I'd die before I let you take me back, Cabil said, generating thousands of light spears and sending all of them in Zachariah's direction. Normally I'd let that happen, but Michael's orders are very clear, Zachariah said, teleporting from directly underneath Cabil. See, this is the difference in our powers, Zachariah said while igniting all of Cabil's 10 wings. Cabil screamed as Zachariah teleported behind him. You're just a lowly Ophanim who forgot his place. We'll teach it to you again, Zachariah said, placing his right hand on the fallen angel, sending him back to heaven. Zachariah smiled as he surveyed the land below him. The devils still looked at him warily. Don't worry, devils. I'll smite you all some other time, Zachariah said, teleporting back to heaven. Good work, Zachariah, Michael said, congratulating the seraph. Zachariah maintained a composed face, but internally is celebrating at another job well done. It may be out of place for me to ask, but may I inquire of Cabil's fate? Zachariah asked in a polite tone to Michael. Seraphim don't usually ask archangels anything, but Zachariah was curious as to what would happen to Cabil before he goes to the dungeons. He is being debriefed by Naomi. Zachariah smiled at this, interrogated by Naomi. A fate worse than death indeed. Do you know who I am? Cabil squinted his red eyes as he found himself restrained on a chair. Yeah, I remember. You're the head of the intelligence division. You're Michael's pet torturer bitch, Cabil said as Naomi frowned at the harsh, but apt description of her. As you've so eloquently stated, I am head of intelligence, and as such, it is my job to find out what you know, Naomi said, powering up her drill. Do your worst, Cabil taunted, spitting in Naomi's face. Naomi smiled, wiping the spit off her face as she brought the drill close to Cabil's face. You'll regret that. Michael, I've completed the interrogation of Cabil, Naomi began as she saw Zachariah's face. Zachariah and Naomi were rivals in heaven, with Naomi being selected for the head of the intelligence division over Zachariah, causing him to be resentful of her. Zachariah, leave us, Michael ordered, causing the seraph to teleport out of the room. What did you see? Inquired the Archangel of Naomi. Nothing critical to the infrastructure of heaven. The things in his head were things about what he would do after restarting the war, how he would torture and kill Azazel, or how he would torture and kill you, Michael, Naomi stated as a rare smile came on Michael's features. That won't happen now, will it? Michael smirked. Where the hell am I? Cabil yelled, rattling the chains on his arms and legs. You're in the dungeons. A male voice called out within the dark confines of the same cell. Who's there? Cabil shouted in alarm. The angel who's going to spend the rest of eternity with you, Gabriel. Damn it, Sam, Dean said at his brother, who was also tied up. Sure, Winchester. Let's savor the moment, the vampire said, brandishing a kitchen knife and waving it in front of Dean's face. The vampire is what you would describe as an older vampire that refuses to let go of the 80s, indicated by his mullet and full mustache. With everything you've done to us, we are going to take this nice and slowly. We'll drain Sam, and drink him in front of you. How does that sound? The vampire said as he heard the entrance door creak slightly. Heard that? A female vampire said to the leader. Yeah. Take Jensen to check it out, the leader said as Jensen, a slightly built vampire, and the female vampire went towards the door. The two vampires were instantly pushed into the wall, and torn apart by some invisible force. What the hell? The leader said as low growls could be heard. The pounding of footsteps followed the source of the growls as 4 humans appeared in the doorway. Good work, Leonardo. I'll get the leader and free them. Cover me, the human leader, a young man with black hair and a school uniform said. The human leader twirled a spear before pointing at Sam and Dean. Understood. The boy with glasses directly to his left said, My pleasure. Haven't killed vamps in a while. The well-built human to the leader's right said in a cocky voice. The final boy, the shortest one, remained silent as the vampires grouped around the leader. They're just humans, kill them, the leader said as 2 female vampires charged at the humans. The well-built human charged at the 2 vampires. The human collided with the 2 vampires and managed to push them back, much to the surprise of the 2 female vampires. The human charged at the stunned vampires and punched them into walls. The well-built human then grabbed one of the vampires by the head before ripping the head off from the body. He then turned to the second vampire and commenced doing the same thing, all with a grin on his face. So you are the source of the killing here? When do you monsters ever learn? The human leader said as he pointed the spear at the vampire leader who just growled. I'm going to enjoy tearing you apart. The vampire charged at the human, who just stabbed the vampire in the stomach as the vampire screamed in pain. What is this? Were the vampire's dying words. A stab from the holy spear will extinguish all of the children of darkness, the human leader said as he walked over to Sam and Dean. The human leader crouched down and undid the ropes holding the Winchesters together. That was amazing. Thanks, Sam and Dean said, respectively. It is what we do, the human leader said as he squinted his Asian eyes at the 2 in front of him. Why, you look familiar. Have we met before? The human leader said as the brothers raised their eyebrows up. Don't think so, Dean said as the one with the spear smiled suddenly. You 2 are the Winchesters, the human said as the rest of his group joined him. How do you know that? Sam asked. Who are you? Dean said suspiciously. My apologies, allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Chow Chow, and these are. The now named Chow Chow said with a smile before he was interrupted. Wait. You said Chow Chow, are you the one from? Sam said as Chow Chow laughed. No, Chow Chow from the Romance of the 3 Kingdoms was my ancestor. As I saying before, these are my friends from the hero faction, Chow Chow said as he gestured to his friends. Hero faction? What is that, some type of role-playing club? Dean laughed as Chow Chow frowned. No, we are all descendants of heroes, Chow Chow said seriously. Heroes? Sam asked skeptically. Yes. Let's introduce ourselves, Chow Chow said as he looked towards the boy with glasses. My name is George. My ancestor is Johann George Faust, the legendary magician, George said with pride. My name is Heracles, you must know who I am descended from, the well-built man said as the boy with glasses muttered in a low voice. Da Vinci. As you see, everyone here is the descendant of someone famous in history. We also have sacred gears, and 3 out of the 4 of us have Longinus-class sacred gears, Chow Chow said as the Winchesters looked puzzled. What is the sacred gear? Chow Chow couldn't believe Dean's question. How could the Winchesters not know what a sacred gear is? A sacred gear is something that has been given to humanity as a way to protect ourselves from the supernatural. Sacred gears are powerful weapons that can heal or kill, and is said to be able to kill a god. You honestly have never heard of these sacred gears before? Chow Chow asked incredulously. No, we've never heard or read about any of these so-called sacred gears, Sam said as Dean looked around. Alright, thanks for saving us. We should probably get going, Dean said as Chow Chow spoke up. Wait. We would be honored if you would join us. Join you? What do you do? Dean asked. Why us? Sam added. You two are the Winchesters. The ones that killed the ruler of hell, its torturer, and its queen. The ones who imprisoned the archangels back into the cage and averted the apocalypse. You two are true heroes, Chow Chow said, addressing Sam's question. As for what we do pretty much what you do as hunters. We go around and kill the supernatural beings that harm humanity, Chow Chow said to Dean. Thanks for the offer, but Sam and I are a team. We decline your offer, Dean said. Chow Chow frowned at this and then sighed. I understand. George, Chow Chow said as a teleportation circle appeared underneath the hero faction members. May our paths cross again, Winchesters, Chow Chow said as he disappeared. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the Skylinemaster for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.